Hello. This episode of Waiting for Review is sponsored by CrowdStrike. Decelerate your life by getting away from your computer every now and then with CrowdStrike and Microsoft Windows. Touch grass and just ignore the blue screens for a while. Register now and get a $10 Uber Eats coupon for free. CrowdStrike. Decelerate your life.
Don't open doors. Break some windows.
Hey, Dave. It's fantastic to see you.
Good to see you too, Daniel. Were you crowd stricken? Did anything hurt you in any way?
I don't think so. No, I don't run any Windows machines, either like privately or with the job. And well, like I used to host a lot of machines on Microsoft Azure, but those were our Linux machines and they were fine. I did have a short database outage last week, but that was like kind of like coincidental from the timing, but I don't really think like I can't say anything. Like the database was a hosted database on Azure. It was gone for 15 minutes and then was back up. So I don't know.
Oh, fair.
I don't think I was crowd stricken. I just like that's why I can like chill. It kind of can be so fun about it. Like I wasn't on any flights. I didn't take any trains that day. Like I only like saw it on the news and in the internet. That's perfect.
Yeah, same to be fair. Quite cozy in my little Mac OS Linuxy bubble. But no, and also simultaneously, like I think it would only affect you if you had paid for CrowdStrike services for your thing,
which I have not.
Yeah, but no, interesting. It's certainly interesting to see that in the news, and obviously my heart goes out to anybody actually impacted by it, because these things are not cool when you're stuck somewhere, and you're stuck somewhere because that place is using Windows, and in a way that I would describe as holding it wrong. But anyway.
Yeah, every now and then we complain about stuff that Apple is doing, but at the same time, for me personally, like macOS is still the best of the operating systems. It just fits very well with how I use computers, and so I'm very happy to be using a Mac.
Yeah, indeed. No rootkits for security over here. But moving swiftly on, you mentioned servers and things, Daniel, and I definitely want to ask you how your server move has gone. But to put me at ease, because you know how antsy and nervous I get, do you want to head into the intro?
It's been a whole minute or so, yeah. You must be like really tense. So let's get straight into it. Hey, welcome to Waiting for Review, a show about the majestic indie developer lifestyle. Join your scintillating hosts, Dave and Daniel, and let's hear about a tiny slice of their thrilling lives. Join us while waiting for review. I should have taken a screenshot of your jazz hands right now.
For listeners of the show, I was making jazz hands and other movements as Daniel read the intro, largely because I wanted to see if I could make him crack.
I did smile more than usual, because usually I'm a very serious person.
Serious while scintillating, Daniel.
Yes. As we Germans are wont to be.
Indeed. Cool.
You had questions
about
the server moves.
Yeah, how is it? Have you moved?
So, last time we spoke, most of the servers that TelemetryDeck was using, were most of the servers used by TelemetryDeck stood in Amsterdam.
Aha.
And as of right now, almost all compute capacity that is used by TelemetryDeck is being used in Frankfurt, in Germany.
Ooh. Yeah. That's good.
I have moved almost all my servers, and as of now, they are converging more and more on stable, which they've been for a while, but then like it's just about like finding the perfect configuration and then like throwing different things at them and see if they buckle. And so now I've kind of run out of things to throw at them. and so I haven't found anything else to make them really crack. So I'm about to remove the notice from the website that says, "Hey, something is like we're moving servers, so excuse any disruptions."
Yep.
Yeah, we moved servers because we had them on Microsoft Azure, which is a lovely hosting provider, but we moved to Amazon AWS because they basically gave us a lot of free credits, whereas the Microsoft credits kind of ran out. And at the same time, it was very advantageous because I wanted to re-engineer the architecture of the whole server landscape that I had as well. So I would need to I needed to like rebuild everything anyway, and so this was a good time to do it basically because
Yep.
so TelemetryDeck has various parts, right? And the two parts is that are very important is like where the data comes in into TelemetryDeck, and then also like where you get your queries out, like where you send a database query or a telemetry deck query language query, and then you get some kind of smart and intelligent and insightful answer back. And so the data goes in through the ingest API. That's at nom.telemetrydeck.com. And then it goes into a message queue, and then from the message queue, it goes into a database server driven by Apache Druid, which I've talked about a lot before. And then like there's a separate API, the query API that also powers the front end. So it has like a normal database attached to it as well that does like user logins and I don't know, stores all the credit card numbers and the social security numbers. I'm joking, of course. We don't have any credit card numbers. Yeah. And so the main cost driver is, of course, the pretty humongous Druid cluster that used to be on Azure. That used to be about, I want to say, 15 to 20 machines. And because now it is way more efficient, I've taken it down to 8-ish, depending on how you count, even a bit lower. And the reason for that is I moved away from Kubernetes for that specific workload. I actually come to, I don't know, I think I like Kubernetes now. I get what it's good for, and I like the ease of use that it brings for certain types of APIs, for certain types of workloads, which basically is, oh yeah, I built an image, a Docker image. Is it Docker image? Huh, my brain is kind of fried. I've had a long week. I built a Docker container. That's the word I was looking for.
Keep going.
I built a Docker image and I just throw it on there and it just runs, and I can like distribute it and whatever. And then if I like release a new version of the thing, it just builds a new image, and then I tell the thing, here, use the newest image. But then I can also roll back to the previous one. And that's pretty cool. So the problem is with Druid that it needs a humongous amount of RAM and CPU. And it really kind of wants to be the only thing running on a machine. Because it's being written in it's written in Java, and so it kind of wants to reserve in advance. It wants to know how much RAM it is allowed to use, and then it will kind of reserve all that RAM in advance. Not always, but most of the time. And so that means that I can't really do that on Kubernetes because like even underneath Kubernetes there are actual machines, and I can like change the size of that machine. So in the previous Kubernetes cluster, I did have machines that had, I want to say, like 32 or 64 CPU cores, and then like 128 gigs of RAM or something like that. But then the thing is, what happens is I can't really max out especially the RAM usage on these machines, because as soon as of those 128 gigs, as soon as the sum of all Docker containers running on that machine exceeds, I want to say, 100 gigs or so, the machine will actively try to offload stuff, because it's like, oh, I'm feeling I'm feeling a
Yep.
bit squeezed, right? And so I've had various techniques to make sure that only like one image is, or one container is always running on one machine, and so that container can then use the whole 100 gigs of the 128 that I'm paying for.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like sometimes things will just like the machine would just decide, oh yeah, I'm just gonna kill that, just gonna kill that container, and whatever. Then the other thing is like it's kind of hard. It's not impossible, but it's kind of hard to have um, a good, very quick hard drive attached to that machine because it's all virtual. But then like you have like various layers of virtualization, and so most of the storage is kind of network attached, which is kind of bad for these kinds of workloads. And
Mm-hmm.
then so out of the 128 gigs, I only have 100 left. Then inside the container, I also have to have another bit of buffer. So inside the container, I'm like, okay, this Druid node inside this container can only use let's say 80 gigs of RAM, because otherwise it will just like touch the upper limit and then just like completely destroy itself, because that's just how it works. And
Yep.
then that is kind of the main problem. And then also the implementation of these things is kind of a bit not very performant, I want to say, or not very efficient. So you end up provisioning like or holding ready a huge amount of RAM, like at least twice as much as you actually need, and paying for those machines, of course, without ever being
Yep.
able to really use it. And at the same time, like if some process is being killed or whatever, because these containers then get spun up in their completely fresh environment, everything is ephemeral. They need to reinitialize. They need to get all their data from storage to be able to go back, and like it's not like a machine that's rebooting and then that's in the same state as before.
Yep.
And like we've even had like listeners like writing in and also advising me on like, hey, get off Kubernetes with that kind of workload. That is not what is happening. And that
Yep.
I've been planning that for a while, and just have been trying to get all the puzzle pieces in place with the AWS transition, but also with just like finding people who can help me, and or give me advice, like people I can I can like call sometimes and be like, hey, can you look at this because I don't get it, and it's like, what is a swap off command? Like, why does my virtual machine that should have like swap space not have swap space? Who
Sounds
can
like an
enable it?
insult. That's like swap off, mate.
Swap off, mate.
Yeah.
And there's your episode title.
I guess so. You what? Swap off. Excuse
So
me.
yeah, one thing that I really wanted to do is I wanted to like, because what you can of course do is like you can like open AWS in a web browser and then click on new machine, and then I don't know, like enter all the details you want to have with the machine, and then click on new machine again until you have like all the 10 machines that you need, and then like SSH into every single one of them, and like install all the software. But that feels very brittle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so my buddy who helped me with a lot of these things, he says treat servers as cattle, not pets. So what we did, we used a software called Ansible, which is a tool chain to provision servers, basically. So what you do with Ansible is like you write basically a series of commands, and their start state and their end state, and then it will just basically run them on all the servers with some variables and some templating and some, like if and buts and whatever. But the fun thing is, because these commands usually have a defined end state, you usually just tell them to the end state, and then it will do whatever is necessary to reach that end state. Like for example, the state would be a service called Druid with this kind of configuration file is installed and activated and running. And
Yep.
so the fun thing about this is also like I can run this command multiple times, and if the service is already there, and if the configuration file already contains all the variables that I've given it, nothing will change, and it will not do anything. And so what you end up is you have an Ansible playbook. That's what they call it, because it's very like a theater metaphor. You have like roles and plays and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And so like I have roles for I don't know, machines with the Java installed, and then machines with Zookeeper installed, machines with Druid installed, with both kind of depend on Java. And then I have roles for individual types of Druid nodes, because those need a bit more configuration and stuff like that. Also like a lot of monitoring. And what happens is I can change the configuration, and then it will just run on the CI and just run all these commands. Like it will, like, you connect to a what we call a jump host, which is like accessible from the CI, and then from that, once it's in there, it will SSH to all the different servers. It will find those by asking AWS API, like, hey, give me all the servers with a label that is called, I don't know, Druid Middle Manager, and they will run all the tasks that a Druid Middle Manager needs to have. Like, so if something changes, those will change, but then all the rest will not change. And so a lot of the work was, yes, question?
Yeah. Can you use this in such a way that you've got very clear, like, staging servers, or rather a test environment as well?
Yes.
I'm thinking,
You can test this in various ways. Like, of course, actually they have a linter and everything, which is very cool, and I kind of enabled that very, very quickly. It's all Python based, by the way. And what you can also do is, like, you have what is called an inventory. And so that is kind of the list of the servers. And so my inventory is a dynamic inventory that is created by just querying the API for, like, hey, give me all the list of the servers with this label. And actually, before that step, it will use the API to create all the servers that it needs, because I already also define all the VMs in there. And so if I have just like an empty field, it will like do everything it needs to do, that it has like 10 servers, some of them small, some of them big machines, and they are configured in that way, and then it will kind of refresh them, wait for them all to be available, and then run all the tasks on them. And so what you can also do is like have a separate inventory for like a test environment or a dev environment. What you can also do is like you can run a diff. So you basically run the playbook, but you're not changing anything. You're just like you're just asking it to go through all the steps, and then at the end report how your inventory, your list of servers would look differently if that thing ran. And so that you can also run that like in I don't know, in pull requests, for example. It's just like see how, because
that's useful.
Right now, in fact, I don't have a staging environment. I have all the like pieces in place to run a staging environment, but right now, it is a lot about, or like the last week, I want to say, it was a lot about finding the perfect configuration. So that these machines would run very efficiently, as in they would use as much RAM and CPU of the machines they are running on as possible without being unstable. And those are things that I can only really check with the exact machine sizes that I have or that I want to use for production, because those are the ones that have like CPU cores and the RAMs and everything in that configuration. And also with the full TelemetryDeck data set, because that's kind of what's tricky, because like I didn't even realize, but the uncompressed data set is 9 terabytes now, like, because I had to copy. That's the amount of data I had to copy from place A to place B, right? And so only if you throw all that data on all these machines and then give them like various different types of tasks, sometimes at once, like be like, hey, clean up your data and also like give me an export of this. And so most everything runs right now, but that are things like I could only try those out with the live data. So at some point we kind of built it up, and then we kind of ran it. It didn't work, and then we tried out different things, did some debugging, like, like but it's because it's infrastructure as code. You can use PRs, you can use and it's not like you're clicking around and like just like trying things out. You can actually like have a ticket and then
Yep.
attach a PR to that and then try things out. And if it doesn't do work, you revert it and stuff like that. And so
That's
that's
cool.
kind of helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ran a bit in parallel, and then after a week, so I want to say last Friday or last Saturday,
Yep.
um, it was stable enough that I like basically switched over to the new servers for a few hours. Like, turns out they also like were fine with all the requests coming in that were about like querying stuff, because like I've I've had like the signals coming in. That message queue like has been split for a long while, sending to both of the
Right.
stacks, like to the old one and to the new one, because that's kind of easy and like I can just do that. But like, where do the queries go to? Like, that has to go to one or the other cluster.
Yep.
And yeah, like a few days ago, I switched over, um, and it's been mostly fine. Like, I think I found a bug in exports that prevents them from running sometimes. So if you are if you want to export your data from TelemetryDeck right now, that might not run perfectly. But other than that, I think I have all the data. I have all the data like copied over and like included in the new cluster. It is way more performant, which is really nice. And it also can do a thing called compaction, which is kind of like defragmentation. I think I talked about this before as well. And the previous cluster was so RAM constrained that it couldn't really do this, because it would kind of like fall over whenever I told it to like defrag a day. And now this one with less machines has been just like plugging away at this, and it's already like has already like defragged or compacted about 2% of the data set. And it goes
That's
like
cool.
newest to oldest, so the benefits are coming immediately, really. And so in a week or so, it will probably have compacted the first or the newest month or so, and so then the performance should even increase even more.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. And I love what you're describing in terms of config as code and all of that side of stuff, because it means you can be really surgical about your changes, right? It's not just like, oh, I've got to write down every step I've made or log everything together or whatever. You're going,
It's all
no.
in Git.
Yeah. Yeah.
That being said, one thing that is really exhausting about server work is just the fact that everything takes so long. Like,
Yep.
oh, I want to try something out. It's not like pressing Command R and then it compiles in a few seconds. It's like, oh yeah, I changed something in these Ansible playbooks, and it takes like, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes to run. Just until all the servers are reconfigured and restarted and everything. And so you're
Yeah.
sitting there for 8 minutes and are like, oh, I can't really do anything else, because I will lose the house of cards that I have built up in my head, like the next 3 steps that I really want
Yeah.
to try out. And I'm just like trying to confirm one suspicion that I have. And for that, I need to wait for this before I can like continue to go back to the file and try try stuff out. And so it's been a lot of hurry up and wait, and that is
Mm-hmm.
weirdly exhausting in a weird way. Like, because usually when I really hyper focus on a technical problem, like my brain is like going full tilt. Like, I'm working so hard
Mm-hmm.
on like I'm solving so many little problems one by one. And here's like it's like my brain is completely active, and I need to be very present, but at the same time it has these weird waiting periods. And so it's very hard to stay motivated and concentrated, but at the same time it is very hard to get away from it,
Yeah.
because I feel like as soon as I turn away from the computer, something will happen. And so I'm like, you just sit there, um, and I had these really insanely long days too, like, because I'm like, this really
I
needs to
know.
happen.
Yep.
Um, this needs to happen this week. I have like deadlines that I really wanted to hit, and so yeah, you're just sitting there, and suddenly it's 11, and it's like I haven't really done anything, and just like most of the time I've been just like waiting for stuff to finish
Well,
provisioning, or.
I mean, you described the round trip and development there as being sort of up to like 8 minutes or so. But I mean, like, even if you were to, okay, so if we were to say that it was 5 minutes a round trip, yeah, then you've got 12 of those in an hour. And that's not a lot if you're trying things and if you're like,
Oh yeah, and
but
also
what
like that
about
is just
this?
the
But what about that?
servers.
Yeah,
Like then I also need to do stuff on those servers, right? And
yeah,
with the amount of data that we have, like it's more like okay, I'm waiting 5 or more like 8 minutes for everything to reprovision, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to the server and I'm telling it to rerun the task that I'm trying to run on it, which is for example, load June 24. Just like
yeah,
load it and compact it or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do that, and it's going to distribute all these tasks on the whole cluster, and you see all the CPU spikes, and then it's just like stays that way for like a day. Like ingesting a day takes about 40 minutes. Like I can like
right.
sometimes like last week I actually increased the amount of servers temporarily to a lot more because of like
Yep.
yeah, like I'm not waiting that long, so I could actually ingest like a day in like 15 minutes or so. But even then, like
Hmm.
if you're like loading a month, that just takes time. So, but it might also crash at any given moment because like I'm still debugging like what is the correct like it has like this software has like so many knobs and dials and everything, and I can configure
Hmm.
everything. And if you and it's like there is a correct configuration and it won't tell you what the correct configuration is. But if you're not setting the correct configuration, it will be like jail.
Yep. Oh man,
Um, yeah.
I I'm never going to complain to you about Xcode's network debugging round trip now because it's certainly an easier ride than you've just described.
At the end of the day, I'm like I have like collected so much experience with running a Apache Druid cluster by now over the last few years that you get a sort of intuition like where to look and stuff like that, and also like
Yeah.
how to debug stuff. Um, but still, like I think the okay, this feeling like okay, this task is gonna take 2 hours, but it also might crash at every second, and I want to react to that because I can't like this is just such a weird feeling because you feel like chained to the computer,
Yeah.
and like you're like yeah, this I can't really do anything else because like it actually literally happened like a few times. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna I don't know like clean the apartment, go for a ride on the bike or whatever, and then like I come back and like 3 minutes after I after I close the laptop, it's like oh no, it's like
Oh man.
but at the
But
end of the
you
time, I like I learned a lot, and also I'm really happy that this was not the like not perfectly smooth, but actually way smoother than I had dreaded. Really,
That's cool. And I imagine like this work as well, it means that if you do want to do this sort of a move again in some fashion, you're a lot better set.
yeah, that's exactly why I chose Ansible and not, for example, some Amazon specific proprietary format,
Yeah.
because I can imagine, for example, that in the future when like machine prices are more impactful and we have like let's say we hire a DevOps person and I can just
Hmm.
like give this whole load of work I can just give to them and then they can say hey I have more time than and knowledge than Daniel so I can just like spend a bit more time and like make this 1,000 times more efficient on bare
Yeah.
metal servers, let's say. Like this is totally
Yep.
possible because this is
Would
very agnostic.
would it let you support like a multi-cloud kind of scenario as well?
I mean, yes, but
Yeah.
um, what needs to happen is the different nodes of this Druid database, and by nodes I mean machines. They
Yep.
need to be able to find each other, and to do that, they use either host names or IP addresses. So the
Yep.
problem is like, it's definitely possible, but you need to find a solution where you securely poke holes into the different cloud providers' firewalls so that they can find each other, but not be accessible from the whole entire internet, because that will be kind of slightly unsafe.
Yes.
There are, I don't know, like there's this thing called Tailscale, for example, that a lot of people are talking about, and we kind of experimented with that a little bit, which I don't really understand yet, but it feels like VPN meets BitTorrent, where it's like not really a server, but somehow they kind of find each other, and it's like all encrypted, and you need kind of the correct certificates. But so that something like that would probably work. But right now it feels like more trouble than it's worth.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, this would totally work. If you just like find the correct configuration, or like connect the networks in the right way. If I could even like put one machine here on my desk or something like that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I talked about the Apache Druid, which is like basically our main database. And also about the different, like I also mentioned the message queue, and I mentioned the two APIs, the ingest API and the query API. And actually the message queue also moved over to AWS. But right now, the ingest API and the query API, they still live in Azure. They still live in the old Kubernetes cluster.
Right.
Because actually I did create a tunnel, but an old-fashioned VPN tunnel. So that those can actually query the new servers and also send data to the new servers. But they like by leaving them alone for now, I kind of bought myself some time, and I could build up the existing or the new stuff pretty well without, like, if everything just falls over, I could like switch back to the old solution. So at some point in the next week, I'm going to have to spin up another Kubernetes cluster.
Yep.
And then like move those as well. And then at some point, I'm going to have to switch. I'll have to update DNS entries, and I'm so looking forward to it.
DNS is always fun.
Yeah. Because I have like so many fail safes in that whole pipeline where signals arrive at the API, and then they immediately get stored to disk, and then they get processed, and then they get stored to a like storage bucket on Azure. Then they get put into the message queue, and at the other end of the message queue, they arrive at the database, but also they get written to another bucket, just like so that if any
just in case
part of this fails, like things that are still there, and I can like reload them. But DNS changes. Like there's no safety net here.
No,
so
not at all.
I need to be very careful with that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I don't envy you on some of these large server scale problems.
Yeah,
I sort of feel quite.
I feel like the time sensitive changes because of when credits are activated and deactivated and stuff like that. So that the move is not costing an incredibly amount of money. Like every now and then I look at these prices and I'm thinking like, okay, that's like about 2 iPhones a day. Oh, that's pretty good. So to not spend too many iPhones per day, like this move was kind of time sensitive, but the rest is way less time sensitive because I don't know, like we were more talking about like, I don't know, milli iPhones or a hundredth of an iPhone. And so, yeah, I'm gonna try to be very methodical about this and very slow and like test and verify and stuff like that.
Yep. No, that makes sense. I'm just that whole perspective though of milli iPhones and it's amazes me just how big everything has gotten over the last few years for TelemetryDeck.
It is. Things are moving.
They really are.
Yeah.
I was going to say I saw your post with the new office that you've got
Yeah.
for TelemetryDeck as
Like
well.
you are looking at me through a different camera too,
Mm-hmm.
because I moved the big display that my normal camera sits on top of. I moved that into my new office, and so you're actually looking at me through a laptop camera.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I lowered my chair so that the angle
So
kind of
yeah, the
works
angle's
similarly.
good. I was going to say you got me there. You're not looking too different in that respect.
Yeah.
But
So here in Augsburg, there is a fantastic startup accelerator program. And if I say startup accelerator program, most people think very commercial, like, oh, there's a
mhm.
huge company that says, we're gonna invest in all those startups, and kind of just like get like squeeze them for as much as possible. But this is actually paid for by the government. Like the city government is saying, like, hey, we need like people who are creating companies, so let's
Yep.
help them. And so this is an organization that is whose job it just is like to help people who want to create a cool, innovative company, just help them with advice and also sometimes other types of help. And so they have recently expanded. They bought a huge um, old like container warehouse basically, and they renovated it and they put in all these little tiny office cubes, like on
Mm-hmm.
2 stories. Pretty
Yep.
nice. It someone on Mastodon said like it looks like if Johnny Ive designed a paintball arena, which I can't stop thinking about. Um, I posted some links, posted some
Yeah,
images
yeah. That
on Mastodon, and it's pretty nice. And so yeah, this is really cool because a it's actually very COVID safe because they have this really sophisticated air filtration system
yep.
where they basically pump fresh filtered air into the individual cubes, and then the cubes have these little slits where air just exits into the main area. But the
Oh,
main
that's
area is
awesome.
also filtrated air. But especially
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
you go into your little office, you just get like the nice fresh air.
That's
Um,
cool.
and also it feels very open and friendly, and it's like it's not too much right now because they're actually not officially open yet.
Mm-hmm.
But because we're friends or friendly with the people who run this whole place, they kind of asked us like, "Hey, like, how about like, do you want one of those before the big run begins? Like before everyone gets one because like they
Yeah.
are way cheap because you only pay like a tenth of what like this kind of office space would be on the open market."
Yeah.
Um, and there's a few like I don't know, there's a few caveats. Like you can't be on the market for more than 5 years, and you kind of have to be from the area, and you have to be technologically innovative and stuff like that. But we
Yeah.
completely comply with all of those, right? And so me and Lisa were like, huh. I we were like pretty tempted because it's especially for me, it feels like I love working remotely, right? I've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it way before the pandemic hit, even like, but
Yep.
especially recently, I felt like I'm kind of like a bit stuck at home, and I don't get out at all, which
Yeah.
is not 100% true. I do get out sometimes, but like I don't know. I felt like it would be really nice to actually switch it up a little bit, and so we were like, okay, this is like we can just like try it out for a few months, see how it works. And
Yep.
so on Monday, we kind of went there and just had a look. Like they just like gave us a tour, and they were like, okay, this is it's this much, and these are the features, and like yeah, it has height adjustable desks, and like has this really nice office chairs, and it has cable based internet. Like it has Wi-Fi too, but like you get like your own IP address and everything.
That's fantastic.
Um, and then
You
Lisa was like, I was like, oh, how do I convince Lisa that like to just like do this because I really want to do this, like I really want to try it out. And I turned to Lisa, and Lisa just like looks at the guy and is like, okay, can we just sign now? And he was like super perplexed. He was expecting us to go like to basically leave and then call him a week later or whatever. And
Yeah,
we
yeah,
and we
yeah.
were like, yeah, like we have our laptops here. Like we have some work to do. Can we just like can we just like we want that cube, please? Can we just go there?
That's brilliant.
Um, and it didn't work perfectly like that. But what
Yeah.
happened was they were like, okay, we need a few hours to prepare the space and to activate the network slots and everything, like to and just like do a bit of cleaning, and also like they have these transponders to open the doors. Like they don't have keys; they have these little fobs,
Yeah, yeah.
and to program those and whatever. And we were like, okay, let's just like get some lunch. And so we went to get to a food truck that like sold döner, and like talked about fun things like U.S. elections and fundraising and stuff like that. And
Yeah, yeah.
then we were like, okay, let's like enough time has passed. Let's go back. And then it started raining so hard, like it was an absolute downpour. We kind of ran, but we were like drenched to the bone. So like first few hours in the new office was basically like we got merch t-shirts from the organization. And of course the air filtration stuff also meant that the air is very dry, so like stuff dries also. Basically the first day we just sat there in our underpants and these t-shirts, these super large t-shirts, and just be like, this is very professional.
Oh man, I was wondering where this story was going, and I did not expect that as the outcome, Daniel. But
Yeah, we didn't last the whole day. We were like, okay, let's like we did some work, but like let's go home
yeah,
and
yeah,
like put some dry clothes on. But what did happen was like I went home and then I had a shower and like got some fresh clothes, and I was like, oh, I wanna I wanna move my stuff there. I wanna move,
yeah,
especially the big display. I wanna move the XDR there. I wanna like really commit to this office and like really go there.
yeah.
And so I took the car, I filled it with all the stuff that I wanted to have there. I also called Lisa and was like, hey, I'm gonna drive the stuff there now. Do you have
Yeah, I'm
anything
in.
anything
I'm all
like
in.
do you
Yeah.
want me to come to drive by your place and like pick stuff up? And she's like, wait, but didn't you want to do it on the weekend? Like, what happened? And I'm like, oh, I'm just really enthusiastic about this. And she's like, novelty.
Mm,
She knows
yeah,
what motivates me. Um, so yeah, I fill the car with a huge screen, my keyboard, my trackpad, various network equipment, a few like basically just knickknacks to have like a bit of
yeah,
personal
yeah,
touch. Like I have this
yeah.
like I got gifted a few years ago, like a long time ago actually, a Sphero, which is this
I
like
know.
this
I remember
Bluetooth
Sphero.
connected robot. It's like a
Yes.
it's like a sphere that you can like remote control with your phone basically. But this one is a
Yep.
special edition that looks like BB-8 from Star Wars.
Hey, that was the best one.
And so I was like, I'm just gonna like this. I basically I have all
Did
these
you
all these
take that there
decorative
just so
things
you could run it around the new place? Have you been running this
that
Sphero around there?
I have not yet, because it's actually like the battery's drained so much like it doesn't turn on yet. But I put it on
Hmm.
the charging pad overnight, so it's gonna be fine tomorrow, I hope. Um, But yeah, that was my thought. Like basically I looked around and was like, okay, the knickknacks that I have like standing around here, like I like them here, but I have a few
Yeah.
things that are just like in the cupboard that are like, yeah, they don't have space right now. And I look in there, like, yes, that's that. I'm gonna take that.
Oh,
Um, yeah. And so yeah, we put up everything, and so today was actually the second full day where I've been just like working at the office. The coffee is pretty decent. I can bike
um,
there, which is really good because I feel way more energetic.
yeah.
And yeah, it's very nice.
That sounds lovely. That sounds really cool. And I vicariously, I want to see more of this space. So I think I'm going to ask you: could you pull together a very quick like TikTok or something to just visually show me around? Like,
Sure.
and
I'm
can I?
gonna go there again tomorrow, so I can
Yeah, yeah.
film a quick walking tour.
And this episode won't go out before that's happened, so hopefully we can link all of that up in the show notes
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
totally.
People can
That's a
take
good
a
idea.
look.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Oh, that's great stuff, Daniel. I'm really pleased to sort of hear how everything's kind of coming together at the moment for you, because you've had long days.
Yeah.
There's been a hell of a lot going on.
Like last week,
Yeah,
I track my time, right? Like last week I was like 65 hours.
yeah, yeah. Um, it's a lot, and I think yeah, it sounds like you're coming out the other side of all of that now and into a new space. And I can totally understand wanting to sort of hit the button on that as soon as possible. If you've been doing these long days and you've been, it's kind of, I don't want to say stuck at home. That kind of is to me feels like the wrong phrase. It's more a case of like your home space and your workspace is getting like all blurred together,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And like this is actually a breath of fresh air. Like I come home and I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking way less about work, but at the same time I'm sitting down at work
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh yeah, this is. I kind of can put aside the fact that I don't know I need to clean the bathroom and the hallway and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can compartmentalize
Right.
bits of your life more effectively with this. So I get that. I get that, and I think you know the for me being somebody who's working pretty much 100% remotely these days, the one of the ways I've been able to do that without going too crazy about it is that this house that we moved in last September, I've got my own home office, so I can shut
Right.
the door on it and I can be like, okay, yeah, that's that done. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I
I
think
have that
without,
too. Like I'm in
yeah,
my office right now, but I don't know. It's just like that's just like I don't know. I I mean that's why I made it for so long. And I'm
hmm
not saying I'm gonna be in the new office 100% of the time. I'm not gonna promise that. But right
yeah,
now it's just like it's just nice. It's just a nice different style. It's very reachable for me, and also no one is
yeah,
forcing me to go there. Right? Like I can just like
yeah. It's a big
decide to go
difference.
there, which is also a
Yeah,
huge difference. I feel like.
yeah, for sure. And
Lisa, for example,
the
says she's probably going to be there like 2 to 3 days a week, whereas I'm like targeting more like 4 to 5.
yep,
So yeah, sometimes she's going to be there, which is also a new experience for me. Like working multiple days a week together with her. That's
yep.
also very nice.
That's really cool. Really very cool. Quite pleased for you. Like this continual growth and phases and everything of telemetry deck. Yeah. I mean, I've been with you on this since it was an idea of yours, and
Yeah.
each stage, I'm just like, hell yeah, go for it.
Oh, thank you so
So
much. We've been talking about me for an hour, I want to say. Like,
nearly, because we
do
obviously
you
we
want to
talked before.
do you want to give quick update of the things you've been working on?
I don't want to get deeply into it because I think we've probably got a show here, and I reckon we'll talk more about my stuff next week, and that will
Hmm.
give me a bit of pressure to get some stuff done. Because just to touch on it very quickly, the app that I've been working on for like the last couple of months, this networked video switcher, um, I think I really am on the releasable version of it.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, I was plumbing in the last couple of bits. One of the very last things I tend to do is wire in the paywall in various areas of the app because I like to be able to see it sort of clean first and then
Right.
layer in that side of it. So I've been doing that. Not incredibly interesting to talk about on the show, but hopefully over the next week, I'll be talking about okay, now I've got a landing page set up and I'm going to hit the button on this and release it. So we'll see. Best laid plans and all of that, but let's check in next week and see where I'm at.
Fingers crossed. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
All right. Then, any last thoughts before we call it a day?
Oof. put me on the spot there. No, head empty, nothing inside.
Oh, such a nice feeling.
Yeah.
I have this visual roadmap on my wall that has just like the words, like words for the different features. And I'm this close to just like being able to strike through the next line, which is servers. And that's just such a nice feeling. I'm eyeing. I should bring this to the office, by the way. I'm eyeing this, but I'm eyeing this piece of paper, and I'm like, I'm gonna strike this through soon.
Yeah, that'll be a. You should capture that for the TikToks. Symbolic striking through.
But in reality, it is a striking through in Affinity Designer and then reprinting it because it looks way cooler this way.
Oh, Daniel. Okay. Well, on that note, on all of those notes, I reckon we should close the show out, dude.
We should, yeah. So, listener, listen up. Thanks for listening. Please rate us on iTunes and also like us on YouTube. Please follow us. Please send us emails to contact@waitingforreview.com and also join our Discord. The link is in the show notes. Also, Dave, where can people find you?
You can find me. Actually, I always reference Mastodon. You can find that in the show notes. That's fine. But I think this week I'm going to say you can find me on Instagram, find my apps on Instagram. And my user there is lightbeamapps.com, spelt lightbeamapps, and then .com, all one word. I shall link that in the show notes too.
A different account, huh? Now I want to have a different account. I don't know. Well, how about this? Find me by listen to one of my favorite Formula One podcasts called Shift F1. And then just wait until they read out the Patreon sponsors. And when they get to TelemetryDeck.com, then you know where to find TelemetryDeck.
That's very convoluted, but I love it.
It is. Also TelemetryDuck.com.
Yes, we've been over this.
I got all the vowels.
You do indeed. It's the rude one that makes me most amused because I'm secretly just 12 inside still mentally. But
you got a 12-year-old inside you. I love that. All right,
no, that sounds very
wrong. Have a fantastic day. See you soon.
Yep. Have a good evening, Daniel. Take care.
Bye.